You awaken, or more accurately, shift gently into awareness in a narrow glade where the trees lean in like nosy elders. They seem to whisper stories to one another, some scandalous, some sleepy, all lost to time. Ahead lies a hill, and at the jail top, a crumbling mosaic of gold and sea-blue tile, glinting just enough to make you wonder whether it's still sacred or just decorative. Tonight's tale, Antiope. Another chapter in Zeus's ever-expanding list of alter egos and complicated relationships. Antiope was a princess of Thebes, beautiful, clever, and unfortunately born into a family where bad decisions passed down like heirlooms. Zeus, drawn to her light, or possibly just trying to beat his own disguise record, comes to her in the form of a satyr. Yes, a goat-legged forest dweller. A creature known mostly for flute music and deeply inappropriate energy. Why this choice? No one knows. Not even Zeus, probably. Maybe he ran out of majestic animals. Maybe he wanted to try something rustic. You pass a half-buried pan flute in the dust. A sheep bleats distantly. Coincidence? Unlikely. Antiope becomes pregnant with twin sons, Amphion and Zephus. But rather than a divine maternity leave, she's cast out by her family. Humiliated, chained, and sent to live in the outskirts, far from comfort. Far from memory. You pause at a vine-covered stone bench. It looks like someone meant to sit here centuries ago and simply forgot. She eventually finds refuge with her sons, who grow up strong, musical, and mildly vengeful. Together, they take revenge on Thebes. That's how mythological sons show love, by overthrowing regimes. The obscure tidbit? Amphion was said to build the walls of Thebes using only his lyre, his music so beautiful that stones would lift and place themselves. Which sounds impressive until you remember how much easier building would be if everyone just learned an instrument. Historians still debate whether the musical powers of Amphion were symbolic of harmony in politics, or just an excuse for bards to get more screen time in ancient plays. You keep walking, and the hill begins to soften beneath your feet, as if the ground is trying not to wake anyone. The wind carries a melody. Not a song exactly, but a hum, old and unfinished, and somewhere, in the forgotten part of the forest, the stones still tremble when the right note is played. You find yourself beside a slow-moving stream, its waters thick with moonlight and moss. Each ripple seems to carry a memory. The frogs are back, but now they croak in a rhythm suspiciously close to ancient iambic pentameter. Zeus, once again, finds himself unable to leave well enough alone. This time his sights fall on Io, a mortal priestess of Hera, beautiful and unfortunately accessible. You dip your fingers in the stream. It's colder than you expect, like the first line of a story you already regret. Starting.io resists, as many do. But Zeus, relentless, envelopes her in a cloud literally to hide his actions from Hera. Of course, clouds don't do much when your wife is a goddess of suspicious minds and divine wrath. Hera, not one to miss clues, demands the cloud be removed, and surprise discovers her husband with Io. So, what does Zeus do? He turns Io into a cow, a lovely, shimmering, wide-eyed white cow. You imagine this is not the glow-up Io was hoping for. You pass a tree with scratch marks, possibly left by a bovine priestess trying to communicate her feelings. Hera, pretending not to notice the absurdity, demands the cow as a gift. She then ties Io to a tree and sets Argus to guard her. Argus, the hundred-eyed giant, who never sleeps because some of his eyes are always open. Obscure tidbit. In later art, Argus's eyes are shown on peacock feathers, which is how peacocks ended up as symbols of watchfulness, vanity, and possibly micromanagement. Zeus, predictably, sends Hermes to rescue Io. And how does Hermes defeat a creature who's always watching? With music and bedtime stories. He plays, he sings, he talks, until all 100 eyes close. You glance at a passing shadow. Was that Hermes, or just a breeze that forgot its tune? Argus is slain, Io escapes. But her journey is far from over. She wanders for years, crossing continents, stung by a gadfly sent by Hera, a tiny insect with an epic role in divine drama. Eventually, Io reaches Egypt. There, finally, her form is restored. She becomes a queen, a goddess. A chapter in both Greek and Egyptian mythology. The Greeks said she birthed Epaphus, ancestor of Hercules. The Egyptians, well, they had a whole other version, probably with more eyeliner and less Zeus. Historians still debate whether Io was an import from Egyptian myth, or whether the Greeks just wanted to explain how cows ended up sacred along the Nile. You rest by the stream, which now hums like a lullaby in a foreign tongue. The frogs are quiet again. Maybe even they needed a nap after that one. You look up. Clouds roll in, not ominous ones, but the kind that suggest the gods are done meddling for tonight. You are back, though where here is now feels both familiar and faded. Like a dream you've walked through too many times to tell if it's yours. The olive trees sway with less urgency than before. The crickets, still chirping, sound like they're slowly packing up their instruments for the night. And this time, Zeus isn't turning into anything. No bulls, no birds, no storm clouds or satyrs. Just thunder in the distance and a story that slides gently toward the end. Tonight we meet Semele. You step into a quiet courtyard with ivy-streaked marble. There's a warmth here baked into the stones, maybe. Or maybe it's just the wine staining everything about this chapter. Semele was a mortal woman, beautiful, young, and again in the extremely unlucky club of caught Zeus's eye. But unlike others, she wasn't tricked or chased or cornered. In disguise, Zeus just appeared to her. And for a while, she loved him, believed in him. You brush past a fallen amphora. It still smells faintly of grapes and ash. Their affair stayed secret until Semele, under the whispering influence of Hera, who wore the calm cruelty of jealous divinity like a shawl, began to doubt. Hera, in disguise as an old friend, sewed the smallest, sharpest seed. If he loves you, why hasn't he shown you his true form? And so Semele, longing to see her divine lover as he really was, asks Zeus to reveal himself. "Swear upon the river Styx," she says that, and Zeus, sighing, reluctant, tangled in the web of promises and thunder, obliges. The result? A tragedy in light. A mortal cannot look upon godhood unfiltered. Semele burns away in the divine fire, her mortal body unable to bear the truth, but inside her was a child. And from that flame Zeus saves the unborn Dionysus, sewing him into his thigh until the child is ready to be born. Because when you're Zeus, apparently your leg can double as a womb. You hear the faint tinkling of a distant wine cup carried by the wind. The obscure tidbit? Dionysus is one of the few gods born from a mortal woman, and also born twice, once from Semele and once from Zeus's thigh. This made him a god of life and death, of wine and madness, of boundaries blurred beyond recognition. Historians still debate whether Dionysus was originally a foreign god imported into Greek myth, or if he was simply the embodiment of their most human hungers: joy, escape, celebration, and collapse. You lean against a pillar that looks like it could side-dot in later myths. Dionysus descends into the underworld to retrieve his mother, bringing her to Olympus, where she's renamed Thyone and granted immortality. Not everyone stays gone. Not every fire consumes. The crickets have stopped. Even the frogs are holding their breath now. The courtyard smells of time, honey, and endings dot, and somewhere, far above, a star flickers that wasn't there before. The story settles now, the gods those shimmering, erratic forces have gone quiet for the night. Their altars cool beneath sleeping ivy. The wine jugs are empty. The lyres have been laid down. You sit beneath a sky that feels impossibly large and oddly familiar. There's a breeze not cold, just considerate, like the wind has been waiting. It's turn to speak, and all it says is, rest. The trees around you no longer whisper secrets. They breathe, slow, deep, as if the land itself is exhaling. You think about the things you saw, the bulls and swans, the clouds and cows, the jealousies and joys. You think about how often the divine was hidden or misused or misunderstood, and how often the mortals were just trying to survive a story they didn't ask to be part of. But tonight, no one is chasing you. No gods are watching. No transformations loom, just you and the rhythm of a world spinning toward sleep. The stones beneath you are warm. The stars above you don't blink, they drift. The silence now is rich, like soil, not empty, but full of possibility, of softness, of forgotten names and slow forgiveness. Let the names fade. Leda, Europa, Callisto, Semele. Let the myths dissolve like dew at dawn. Let your breath grow long. Let your eyes, if they're not already, grow heavy. This was your journey through the Tingan, quieter corners of Olympus, where even gods get tired, where even thunder sleeps. And now, so can you. Good night.